I am still a shareholder in a very large-scale consolidated farm. I work with clients all across Canada and the northern US that are farming today. So I'm going to give you a peek inside where I see the industry today, where I see the governance, succession, transition issues today. Because to be fair, the 2021 census has us at about 12%. That's the amount of farms that have a succession plan. Okay? I want you to stop and think about this question for 1 second. This question got posed to me midway through a client meeting with a full family, and I didn't have the answer. I believe fair and equal can be achieved, but it's going to take you a little work. So, the reason I asked this question is I have a farm, and he's got a son that's coming back to take over a farm that has about 40 million in equity, guys. Not real easy to split between the kids. And I'm pretty sure his son does not want to buy that farm from him. Okay? He also has a daughter that is in veterinary school in the US. He posed the question to me, he said, "Why can't I invest in a vet clinic for my daughter?" I said, "You can. Land does not have to be used just to farm. The equity in your value of land can be used for business, investing, any type of enterprise that can show a return." So that's what he's doing. He's buying 3 veterinary clinics that his daughter will come back, and he will pay someone to run until she's of the age and the experience that she can run them. That is the succession I'm going to talk about with you today. Okay? The legacy is not just the farm. The legacy is the family. Okay, put up your hand if you've ever heard of Rockefeller. Easy question. Okay, the reason I bring Rockefeller up is that his idea was permanence beyond individualism. And again, big terminology, sorry. What that actually means is, guys, is why do we ever have to split up the wealth? You guys have done very well. You bought investments at the right time, and they 10x'd for you, while also running a business that got returns off of those assets. So when I talk about succession, transition, retirement, I want the wealth to stay. And not only do I want the wealth for one kid, I want the wealth for all of them. And then I want the wealth for the next generation and the generation after that. So, quick question for you. If you gave your son or daughter a $5 million check today, what would happen to that? Poof? And not good poof, bad poof. So why do we do it? Right? Why do we sell the land, take the money, and hand them a check? Succession transition is about creating multi-generational wealth. So 5 decades from now, your grandkids or great-grandkids are remembering you guys because you built this wealth and it got passed. It did not get spent. Now, how do we achieve that? Well, first of all, diversification, a vet clinic, off investments. What do you want to buy? What can make money? Cattle. Number 2, governance structures. Who here's got a brother or a sister? How well do you get along? I got a couple head shakes. Okay, I'll give that. When I worked at MNP, the number 1 rule was do not put brothers in a company together. That does not work. Now, there is the number 1 reason that this won't work. So how do we mitigate that? Well, what if we had 2 or 3 individuals that you trusted actually in charge of that office, in charge of the wealth distribution? I'm not saying pull all the equity away from the farm and put it somewhere else. I'm saying, what if everybody utilized the wealth in the right spot? And what if the farming child could use 10, 20% of that land for operations in terms of equity? Just giving you a thought process today, guys, okay? And what if you had people in charge that made sure that your family didn't do this? The old transition statement at MNP was we want to spend Christmas together. Mine is, if you're bankrupt, Christmas still sucks. Okay? Third, long-term preservation, not lifestyle inflation. Going back to my $5 million check example, what if every time one of your kids bought a house, they got a $20,000 check? Or their first kid, they got another $20,000 check. Or maybe they started a business, they get $30,000 interest-free loan. All of these things can be built in. You just got to do it. And then last but not least, separate the business from capital. So what I mean by that is, hold up your hand again if you own land. You actually own 3 different businesses. Do you know that? You're real estate moguls. You're investors, because I know everybody in this room has put every dollar back into the farm. Let's be serious. And you're farmers. If you can split those 3 investments and operations apart in your head, the mindset works. We always take farming and real estate and go like this. Made lots of money because I was a farmer. What if I'd bought land and not farmed? What if I'd rented it out? Would I still get the 10x appreciation? Yep. I didn't need to be a farmer to do that. What if I took money out and put it into Cameco shares? I could have done that. I chose to put it back into the farm, grow the farm, and keep going. These were decisions, but they weren't farming decisions. So Rockefeller asked the question, how do we make this capital permanent, intergenerational? The retiring farmer asks, how do I minimize tax on the sale? Do you see the difference? Okay. I hate this graph, but it's true. There's your multi-generational farms, okay? Now, I've been around 6th generation farms, 7th generation farms. There are just not very many of them. So how do we get our heads around transitioning? That's what I'm going to talk to you about. Number 1, you got to go from operator to capital allocator. How many people in here like sitting in a cab of a machine? You're going to hate every word I say from this point on. Okay? There's a life cycle on a farm. You start as an employee, aka mom or dad tells you what to do and you do it. Then you buy your first quarter. Now you're a business owner. If you keep going, you get to be what we call an entrepreneur, which is what I said every single person in here was earlier. Anybody know what the next step is? It's a circle. You go back to being an employee. It's the grandeur of being a farmer. So, how do we stop that? Well, instead of just sitting in a machine, you're going to sit at the top and you're going to say, we're going to put capital there, or there, or there. And it better not be in John Deere. Okay? Number 2. So, I have told that 1% line 1,000 times in 1,000 different presentations. I forgot to caveat, you are only rich on paper. Anybody here feel like a 1%er? Not a one of ya. Because cash flow is not farming. Cash is king, but you guys are equity rich, most likely cash poor. Okay? Welcome to farming. If nobody told you that off the start, you learned a very cruel rule. So, how do we do this? Well, no different than working with PMW Wealth. What do I need to retire on? What's the number? We've seen lots of graphs today. For me to have the retirement I'm on, what's that number? Do I need to sell all of my land to achieve that number? Does the farm that I'm transitioning make enough to pay me that number without selling any land? It's kind of in your court. Last one, work identity versus stewardship. So, number 1 reason that I've had to fight the farm baby boomers that want to exit is they want to still be farmers. Who here still wants to hold their fuel tax rebate? Everybody put your hand up. I know farmers, right? So we still want to have that work identity, stewardship identity. And what I mean by that is the stewardship identity is you are still in charge. You might not be making the decisions, but if we're going to go from grain to cattle, yeah, you still got a hammer. Well, if we're going fully organic, yeah, you still got a hammer. That's stewardship. That's governance. That is your new role if you set it up this way. I can guarantee you one thing. Land will go up or land will go down. Robbie? Okay. But, here's my but. If we think it's going down because we're back in the 80s, I have a message for all of you. These are not inflation adjusted, so do not look at the numbers. Look at the ratios. I'm going to tell you why we are not 1980 today. Yes, wheat prices today, they're terrible. If I inflation adjust that, it's about a 230% adjustment. Anybody here ever made money on wheat? Yeah, the answer is no. The answer is no. But average wheat yield, we're actually up about 92%. So we have hidden the fact that we get paid no more today than we did in 1980 for our grain by overproducing. Okay? Cost of production, yeah, they're up, guys. Stop buying equipment for number one. Every expense is up. Is that a concern? You bet. Now, working capital ratio. That is how much liquidity is on the farm. How much cash you got, okay? We keep hearing cash is tight, we're in trouble. Nope. Majority of farms that I work with, the average across our firm is 2.68. That's the ratio. That means they got almost 3 times as many current assets as they do current liabilities. Cash is not tight. In fact, we are light years ahead of where we were in 1980. Number 2, debt to equity. So we have 1,000% more debt on farms today, guys. Did that surprise anybody? No. New X9 combine is 1.5 million. Yeah, we got debt. But our debt to equity is in the exact same position it was in 1980 because land has increased. But at 20%, it could fall 50% on our farm tomorrow. I wake up, nothing happened. The average farm I work with is somewhere in the range of 34 to 42% leverage on land. It would have to fall 30% or more for me actually to feel any pain. Land is not going to dictate whether I can farm. Now, the one caveat, Bank of Canada rate was 12.89% in 1980. It is 2.66%. If you want to know what started the 80s crisis, that was it. And then what finished it was 5 years of depressed grain prices. Sound like a plan? 2026, looked bad. 3 weeks later, magically every farm I work with now has profit because somebody bombed Iran. We now have $16 canola. You can actually book 2027 canola for $16 now. And we have wheat that might actually pencil for once. So is it that bad? No, we're not even close to where it was in 1980. And you can fight me on these guys. This is census data, so you got to fight the government for that. 20th century farm today. So why are farms more resilient today? Number one, interest rate risk. 5-year rate right now is about 4.5, 4.75. 90% of the farms I work with have locked that in for 10 plus years. So if we go to 12% next year, other than my operating credit, nothing happens. Interest rate swaps during COVID, we booked for about 2.2%. I have those until 2033. I don't have any interest rate risk for the next 7 years. So am I worried about interest rates today? Nope, not even in the back of my head. Profit insurance and subsidies. 2 thoughts here. One, Majority of my farms that have actually controlled their costs are actually in a profit position with insurance. They can't lose money. So even with commodity prices down, the worst case scenario is a break even. I can't go backwards. Number 3, recession, pandemic proof. We went through COVID. Did the agriculture sector get better or worse? It got better. We are pandemic proof, which not many industries can say. The other one is if the interest rate goes to 12%, who's going to feel pain first? The people in this room or the people outside of this room? There's $1 trillion of residential mortgages up for renewal, guys, in the next 6 months. Society will feel it before you. I don't think our bank will let that happen. Opinion. That's strictly opinion. Number 2, succession. I told you about the family office. I'm doing this with multiple farms right now. We will have this penciled out. Number 2, business structures. The big one, most of my farms have land in a separate company for 2 reasons. 1, general liability. If something happens in the operating company, land is off limits. Number 2, succession. Who here would give their non-farming siblings a part of the farm itself? No. I'll give them shares in my land company. I will not give them shares and make decisions on my farm. Okay? Legal wills and agreements, they are required. Reason I say that, if you are brothers in a company together, I want a document that says if we go to fisticuffs, this is what happens. It's a safety mechanism. For the 4 Ds, death, divorce, disability, and departure. Interesting stat for you. In the US, 65% of the farm assets by 2033 will be owned by women. Anybody know why? Men die first. Okay. Number 2, the largest land transitions in the US right now are due to one reason: divorce. That is the number 1 reason land is changing hands in the US right now. If that doesn't scare you. Non-related business partners. I get to stand up here, guys. I am an equity shareholder in Hebert Grain Ventures. My last name is not Hebert. If you want to know what the next generation of farms are doing, they're bringing in individuals like me, chartered professional accountant, giving me a small equity percentage in their farm so that when I make a decision, it's the decision to make the farm more money. If you gave me a salary, do I care if I drop a pan when we're combining, check a boot while we're seeding? Nope, I'm getting a salary. Now I have skin in the game. And I'm not the only one. We have 2 other members of our team that both have skin in the game. Capital strategies, lending institutions. To be fair, interest rate swaps, long-term loan or long-term lock lease or locked loans were not around in 1980, guys. The reason interest rate risk is much lower today is because they are. If I didn't have a mechanism to fix out 10 years, am I worried about interest rates? You bet I am. But I'm not. Number 2, private equity. Anybody's hair stand up on the side of their arm a little bit? We hate that term in agriculture. We need it. I'm going to tell you why. Average age of a farmer today is 65. We're in the room. You own 65% of the assets. There is only 10% of farms under the age of 40. I'm not a good accountant, but 65 does not go into 10. And there's not enough capital in the banks to buy every farm that the boomers are going to leave. That's my biggest risk on our farm, is that there is not enough capital if every single person in this room sells their land tomorrow. Private equity, diversification. I have farms that are getting into everything. I'm speaking today as a consultant and a coach because that was our diversification. We have 3 CPAs on staff. We were tired of spending a whole bunch of money on land and infrastructure and equipment. We created a business where the only capital we have is my computer sitting on the table. But we still make a good return. You can go into cattle. I was in Listowel, Ontario. They're starting maple syrup farms. And if you think you guys are rough, their land's $45,000 an acre. Those are different conversations. And the last one, consolidation and partnerships. In our coaching program, I have two 10,000-acre farms that went for a beer one night. And after that beer, they said, why are we working against each other? They have now started a joint venture, two 10,000-acre farms, turned into a 20,000-acre farm that has better buying power, stronger marketing. Each of them have a different ability, and they liquidated almost $4 million worth of equipment that was unnecessary. That's what's happening in the industry, guys. You want to compete? Work with someone else. Let's say you don't have a child that wants to go back into farming. What if you did a joint venture with a neighbor? Does two things for you. You still get good returns on your land and your farming, assuming it stays up, and you get to still be called a farmer. You have a purpose. That's what retirement does, guys, and that's why many fear it. You need 5 things in life. You need health, you need time, you need money, you need relationships, and you need purpose. If you don't have one of those 5 things, life ain't that good. You can have all the money in the world. If you run out of time or your health is bad, what's it matter? Okay, the action steps. What I want you to take away from this, guys. Proper succession and transition plans, number 1, okay? If you don't have them, please spend time doing them. 12%. Agriculture is an $89 billion industry. 12% is not good enough. Now, the number 2 is, if we transition that 65% of assets, that will be the largest transfer of wealth in history. And I didn't say agriculture, I said wealth. Land-driven investment portfolios. I am still bullish land. And again, that might be where I contradict some of the others. I'm still bullish land because we're still buying. Majority of my clients have made land deals in the last 6 months, even at the rates today. Why? A, we're over-equipped, and the more land we buy, the cheaper my equipment gets because I'm using it over more acres. That drop in cost is actually making me more money than the extra I'm paying on interest. It's an interesting formula. The majority of farms I work with are massively over-equipped. You buy more land, fixes that, makes it cheaper. And the equipment costs you a lot more per acre than your land does over 25 years. Diversification risk management we talked about. If you have all your eggs in one basket, I wouldn't. And I'm not saying jump into cattle, although it's been good. I'm saying find other businesses or investments, off-farm investing, RSPs, TSFAs. Obviously, this group is a little more aged. That might change what your diversification portfolio is. But the farms I work with that are younger and doing succession right now, I want them to take some money out of the farm. Not because the farm's making lots and let's pull some. I want it to go into off-farm investment. If all of you had $2 million in off-farm investment today, would succession be easier? Yes, it would. Part of the problem is, I told you all invested every dollar back in the farm. Now the only way you retire is by getting it out now. Why don't we get it out a little earlier? Over time. Retirement and off-farm investment. A, I don't want anybody in this room to retire. I think it's a swear word. I want you to take a different role. Family office and permanent wealth creation. You have the one asset that I wish I'd have bought more of. Is land overpriced today? Yes. But if I told you could go back 20 years and buy more, anybody here writing a check? Okay. Tax planning and multi-general life insurance. Okay. There is mechanisms using life insurance that can actually assist you. Now, one caveat, I want you to do it with cash, not borrowing. That's the only caveat I had for you. If you got excess cash in the company, which I have lots of farms that do, the working capital ratio showed it compared to the 80s. If we can get some tax-free money out for your guys' retirement, all day long. But do not go into debt to do it. That's where I draw my line. 3 quotes for you. A big check never goes to a healthy place. Number 2, generational wealth means more than one generation. And number 3, the legacy is in the family, not the farm.